What's up? What's up? What's up? Coach Bruce is in the studio. Um, had a really interesting session with one of my clients today, and it kind of brought this topic up in my mind because I talked about truth the other day, and truth is the foundation for me of everything that has changed in my life and why it has stuck and why it has been positive and continual growth since I've started doing things differently. But what I realized is what has come out of that growth. I'm sorry, not what has come out of that, like laying that foundation of truth for me, is the use of honesty as a tool. Um, when I started being a more truthful person, just operating out of truth and being addicted to telling the truth, I found that telling my story became a really powerful tool for me. That people connected with me deeper and found more value in my stories and my words and my advice and everything because I was coming from a place of truth. And it's not that I was lying about everything or I never had good advice before. It's just that whenever there's this separation between what you believe in your core and what you're telling people, then it's just the information is just received differently. I think it's something that's beyond subconscious. It's almost like pheromones that people know when there's even an air of dishonesty about somebody. And I feel like I had that all the time. So whenever I would give advice, you know, people would say, okay, interesting. But nobody ever really was able to take that to heart because it probably always felt like a slightly off piece of fish or something. It was like it looks good, but there's just something off about it. And since I've started to really live in truth and really just be excited about being honest about my life and the things I've been through, I've helped a lot of people really um, change some things in their lives, and I'm so thankful for because it not only am I happy to help people because that feels awesome, and I feel like I'm living my purpose, but it also encourages me to continue being honest because knowing that my story and all its shame and embarrassment and every other possible emotion that you could have is still helpful to people makes it really encouraging to be an honest person. I think that everybody wants to believe that honesty is like the default for everyone, but for me, it wasn't. Like I grew up in a household where guilt and shame were the way that things were accomplished. If you weren't succeeding to the level that um, you should be, quote unquote, then you were going to feel a lot of guilt and a lot of shame, and there's going to be some fear mixed in there too because you're probably going to get a spanking or what we call you're going to get your ass beat. That's what it was called in my house. And so lying became pretty natural because if I didn't do the thing right, which being ADHD, I felt like I never did the thing right, so I always fell back on that lie. I felt like the only thing I could do right was lie well. And to a degree I could, but I think it was only in those situations where that fear was extreme and I felt like I really had to. It was a survival mechanism, but it became a a matter of just everything that I could lie about I would. And until I almost lost everything that mattered to me, I didn't realize that I was telling those lies to myself. I didn't realize that I had spun a story so complex that I believed it in its entirety without even realizing it. And as I started to unpack all that, I realized that my life was, it was kind of crazy, and there was a lot of valuable lessons in it that I could share with people. And I've been trying to do that, and I think that it has been really really beneficial, and I continue to move forward in truth. And for example, I met with one of my clients today, and we were working on his How to Life workbook, working through. He was struggling with the process because he didn't really understand what it would look like to brain dump and to like categorize what's going on in your head, so you could, instead of trying to fight this battle up here with all this stuff happening, you could put it down on a page, categorize it, look at it one by one, decide what is an obstacle, what's an intrusive thought, what's um, a doubt, and get those things out of your head and realize them for what they are. And then you can also look at what your values, beliefs, and goals are, and put a name to those things. So when they cross your mind, you can say, "Oh, that is something that's important to me," or "Oh, that's just me doubting myself again." I can just let that go, let that pass through my mind. It doesn't need to occupy. I'm sorry, it doesn't need to occupy space and time. And he wasn't quite getting it. And because I live in truth now, what I did was I opened up my How to Life workbook and I started reading him off examples, because it was really hard to, you know, hypothetically explain what it looked like to him. He just wasn't grasping it. So I was like, hey, what's the best tool in my toolbox? Honesty. So let me pull mine up for you. Here's what mine says: A, B, C, D, E, F. Does that make sense to you now? You need to hear some more? Like, do we need to read through my whole workbook? Because I don't care. Like, I don't mind if he knows everything about me, because I want him to be able to gain value from the mistakes I've made in life. I want everybody who's interested to be able to gain value from the mistakes I've made, make the same ones. And because of my commitment to truth, I have that in my bag now. I have that tool of honesty to help leverage my story to make it work for other people. And that was, that was just something interesting that came into my mind today, that I was like, I want to talk about that. So I have, and that's done. Once you have that relationship with truth, it's important to figure out where you want to go next. And the way you do that is by doing your How to Life workbook. You figure out your truth, then you figure out what is truly important to you at your core. What are your core values and beliefs? And then you build your goals from there. And the How to Life workbook walks you step by step on how to do that, and to really create something that aligns with you at your core and allows you to move forward with confidence and authority and make decisions that are not at the will of your emotional state. They are what you have decided in a logical, analytical mind that you want to move towards and want to honor in your day-to-day life. And that for me has been absolutely, top value. And I think that it can help anybody who's struggling with, where do I go next? What do I need to do in this life? Why am I stuck? Why am I not able to engage? All those things come back to me, to not knowing what you want out of life and what's important to you. And the How to Life workbook will help you with that immensely. That is it. Once again, the link is in the bio. It's in my description here. It's everywhere. Go get the How to Life workbook. And for everybody who is listening,